Alberto Del Rio retains the World Heavyweight Championship against Big Show and doesn't get cashed in on. God damn it! One of
Think
the
he
things
would.
I do want to talk about is the glaringly obvious wrong prediction of mine, where I was very, very hopeful, and I thought, oh, 100%, they're gonna have Dolph Ziggler cash in on Del Rio, and Jericho wins the Elimination Chamber, and do that kind of thing. And when this opened up the pay-per-view, I was incredibly nervous, and I was just like, no, I don't want to see Del Rio go to WrestleMania as the champion. And then when they started dragging out after the match Del Rio's celebration, I was just like, come on out, come on out. Why can't somebody play I'm here to show the world? And he's just run the
I
fuck.
was waiting on that as well. I was like, come on, Dolph,
Yeah.
any minute now.
And
I'll
then
tell you why this is happening. A few years ago, was it last year? Maybe it was 2 years ago. Alberto Del Rio was supposed to have a big WrestleMania moment, but it was pulled away from him. And do you remember why?
Said just retiring.
the Edge
Yes,
situation?
because he was facing Edge, and Edge was forced to retire pretty much 2 days before WrestleMania. So they changed their mind and they let Edge go over in that match. So Del Rio went through the next couple of years. He had his moments, but now he's finally going to get that WrestleMania moment.
I still am just not a big fan of the idea of him against Jack Swagger. We'll talk actually more about the Del Rio Swagger thing when it comes to the Elimination Chamber thing, but
Can you explain to me the mixed bag on the booking though, Peyton? Because you said you were
Yeah,
going to
I know where he's going at because he beat Big Show fluky twice in rules that allowed such to happen. Now he proved that
Exactly.
he can make a fucking giant tap out right before WrestleMania.
Specifically.
That's where you're going with, right? Because that's what I got.
That's exactly where I'm going. It was a gimmicky match which allowed him to use crazy means, allowed him to use duct tape, and allowed him to put a table on him. Now, when he's in a match like this, he can't, do something like that because you're forced to stay inside that ring and you're forced to stay inside the rules of a standard wrestling match. So he had to get the Big Show down for a pin, or he had to make him tap out, which is much, much harder than beating him in a gimmicky match.
But then they did add the little gimmick of him kicking the bucket into his head, which should have been a disqualification, technically.
Stop trying to bring logic into this.
It's
And
wrestling.
of
There's no
course,
such thing as logic.
that became a fun little botch when he missed the Enziguri the first time, and Big Show just kind of stood there and was just like, "Hey,
People fucking
I
wrestling
fucked
botches
this next
happen.
day." So, and of course, everybody botches. It's not one of those things where they botch one time in a match and it's, oh my god, they're all fucking horrible or anything like that.
Unless
Hell,
they're
there's
Sin
a whole
Cara.
channel dedicated to it.
There's a whole
Unless they're Sin Cara.
yeah, Sin Cara. Well, Sin Cara would find a way to somehow kick the bucket like literally in a match. Insert joke.
I was actually, the match was a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I think the crowd really seemed into it, and I thought the two worked well together for a regular singles match. It was way better than I was expecting it to be.
The odds were in
surprised
Show's
me.
favour in the match as well because it seemed like something that he couldn't lose. But it was awesome. It was a nice little starter to the show, but I still wasn't happy about it because I feel that the world title should never, ever,
Open the show.
ever open a pay-per-view.
I think that it should sometimes, but
Sometimes.
You die now.
it shouldn't be a regular thing, and I think that
They're making it too much of a regular thing.
yeah, they're kind of booking it as the old Intercontinental Championship, or actually
Yeah.
better off. Not that one didn't even really open the card for the most part. They're almost booking it more as the old Tag Team Championship.
Actually, the
It's-
ECW Championship, I'd put it as.
It's tradition to open the show hot, and you always want to have a really good high energy match starting your show.
agree.
And once upon a time, you had your cruiserweights and your tag teams to do those kind of things. They were able to do those really high energy matches to get the crowd pumped.
Right.
They don't really have any of those anymore. So
Well, they're looking
the only
out for
option they
that
have is to
cruiserweight
put one of their
show.
main events there.
So they're looking at bringing out a cruiserweight show, so they might as well just do that again.
Well, see,
Yeah,
I
have
time.
the cruiserweights do that and leave the title where it should be in the main event.
can also completely see why they would put it on this card, knowing what they did afterward, because you can't have the Elimination Chamber match started off and Jack Swagger win, because then you already know that Alberto Del Rio is going to beat Big Show. They're not
Very
going to have
true.
you're not going to have Big Show against Swagger, And you can't have the Rock match go on first because that's the main event. You also can't have the United States title match go on and then the World Heavyweight title and then the Elimination Chamber because you need to have that bathroom break.
Well,
And
easy.
even
Continental
though
Championship. Have the IC title there.
yeah, but they didn't have that planned into the card, so that's why they didn't do that.
We're
But
talking
again-
from the structure that they had going on.
Right. So if they came into this going, we have the world title match, U.S. title, Elimination Chamber, Divas, Ziggler and Kofi, and The Rock and all that. They pretty much planned this out the way that they should have. So I have no problem with the placement on the card.
I have an issue with it, but I'm always going to have an issue with it until they start treating the World Heavyweight Championship as a world
An
title.
Intercontinental World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
So my big thing about it was I was just disappointed with the no cash in and all that. That
I
hindered
seen it coming.
That hindered
Way
it a
better
lot
match
for
than
me.
I was expecting.
Yeah,
Good way to open the show.
that would be the thing that that put it all down for me. So
That was also my mistake as well. I have to admit, I was with Tony on that. 100% that was going to happen.
So any other
I wasn't.
Neither was I.
I have a pretty good knack for being right, wasn't I?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
really
you
were
do
difficult.
this week.
Oh, well, I thought I was right at the Royal Rumble too. Oh, burn.
Ooh, he got you there.
Ooh.
Any other last thoughts on this match before you move on to the U.S. title match?
It was a pretty good match. Well, let's stick with that. It could have been just a filler to take up time on the road to WrestleMania, and it was worth it. It wasn't just a throwaway match.
Exactly.
And looking from where the match came from, the two matches it had to compete with before that in this feud, it was a good way to end it.
So the next part, we'll do the U.S. title match between The Miz and Antonio Cesaro.